Welcome to this presentation by Careers, Placements and Employability. Today's presentation will explore the steps to success, where we'll be looking at Step 7, Interview Top Tips. The focus of this presentation will be to explore interview top tips. We will look at how you prepare for interviews and some of the software that you can use via our website www.staffs.ac.uk/careers. We have something called Interview 360, which is an essential tool which can help support you prepare for interviews, and we will have a look at this in today's session. Let's have a look at how we prepare for interviews. The interview starts long before you meet anyone, and employers will make early judgments on you based on your documents that you've supplied them before interview. So that could be your CV, for example, or application, and they will be testing some of the qualities from those stages also at interview, such as communication, problem solving, teamwork, and your values. It's important that you research the company before you even apply and revisit that information before interview. Look at the company's website and what their values and ethoses are, and be prepared to connect their ethoses to your own. You might also want to investigate the job description in more detail before your interview and start to look at some of the key essential criteria and consider examples that you might have. This will help prepare you for the interview. Let's look at how we might approach an interview. On our website, which is www.staffs.ac.uk/careers, we have an e-learning section, and there's lots of really useful information on there which can help support you when you're preparing for your interview. If you access our website and the e-learning dashboard, you'll see some really great information on employability skills, recruitment processes, and preparing for the world of work. We recommend accessing this information to support you, and down the left-hand side you'll see a whole section based on interviews. In this section, preparing for interviews, there are some really useful bits of information around answering interview questions, understanding assessments, and being able to negotiate your salary and offers. It's worth checking out before you start to prepare for an interview. Let's have a look at some key considerations when approaching an interview. If you're unsuccessful within an interview stage, for example, the recruitment process or part of the interview process, you might have to wait up to 6 months before you can apply to that company again. So therefore, practice can really help you prepare for the job that you are applying for. And taking the time and the approach as a candidate to develop your skills and gain additional experiences can be really essential to prepare you. You might consider graduate schemes, for example, where you've got a chance to apply year after year when you've graduated, whereas for a placement you might only have one chance to apply. So spending some time approaching the interview and thinking about the practice of the interview technique can be really essential to get it right first time. One really essential thing to do is to collect lots of important information, and hopefully you will have done that as part of the application process. So please revisit that information. If you haven't, or you've misplaced it, then make sure you download the job description, save it as a PDF or a web page, or print it out, and that will give you an opportunity just to really focus on some of the key criteria. Start by looking at the key responsibilities. These are the duties that you will be expected to do in the role, and most likely you'll be asked questions about these and examples that you have gained previously from other work, placements, internships, volunteering, for example. There will also be a list of essential requirements, information about the role, company information, salary, and any other business. Again, it's really essential to look at this information to be prepared to talk about your experiences and aligning those to the company. Employers really like to see that you've done your research. Once you've prepared, it's now time to practice. On our website, we have a really handy tool called Interview 360, which you can access via www.staffs.ac.uk/careers. At the top of the web page, there is a toolbar which has an option for Interview 360, and we recommend selecting this and have a go at to prepare for interviews. Interview 360 will simulate real interviews for you, and there's an opportunity to give video-based mock interviews that are relevant to particular jobs, sectors, or skill areas. You're able to develop your awareness, such as looking at your body language, your tone, and communication for clarity, and really looking at what an employer might want to see. You actually receive some automated personal feedback. So the system analyzes verbal and non-verbal cues, such as your eye contact, pace, filler words, for example, and it gives improvement tips that you can use. You can also have it reviewed by career professionals within the careers team at the university. And hopefully it will build your confidence and preparation skills. We recommend using the STAR method, which stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result. And this is a really tried and tested method that can help support you with answering interview questions. We'll have a look at this method in a few slides' time. On Interview 360, there are ready-made interviews that are categorised by industry and sector. And that can be really useful if you are applying for a role in a particular industry. You can tailor your questions around what you think you might get when you will go to your actual interview. Also, on Interview 360, it's a great way to practice. The video is recorded and you're able to answer questions and watch your feedback, and as well as watching your interview take place. And that can really help prepare you for your interview. If your interview is online, make sure you check the application that you are using for the interview, for example, Teams or Zoom. You might need to download the app on your computer before your interview date and just check that it works. With virtual interviews, you can have any notes with you, but just make sure you're always looking at the camera. And before your interview, make sure your camera and microphone work, and also put a background on to make sure you present a professional attitude to your employers during that interview. If you haven't had an interview invitation come through, make sure you do chase it up with the people that are hiring you. Also, check your junk or spam boxes, as sometimes emails can get lost. If you have a face-to-face interview, make sure you dress comfortable for the interview, but also consider what you're wearing is appropriate for the dress code of the company. You can ask the hiring manager for the dress code if you are unsure, but it's always important to try and dress as professionally as possible for the interview. As mentioned, the STAR method can be a really great technique to use, and that stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result. Lots of companies use this method as a way of scoring candidates, and they really like you to be able to talk about illustrative detail. Starting with situation, this is where you describe the context or background of a task, really set the scene to the employer. Then T for task, this is where you talk about your role and responsibility in the situation. What did you have to do? What did you do specifically? Action, Make sure you talk about specific actions that you took to address the task or challenge. So you might talk about working in a team or communication, for example, but particularly what did you do? And lastly, result. Share the outcome of what happened with that task. And also, it's useful to reflect on it as well. Here is an example of the STAR method when looking at using data to improve your work. So this example starts with the situation and sets the location and time, so during the second year at university. Then there's a clear focus on what the student had to do. They then move on to task, and the language here is really nice, using words like objective, create, engaging, and KPIs. These are all great bits of information that an employer would look for in a response to an interview question. And then action, the answer here really focuses on what the student did. So I developed, I researched, I monitored. That language that's really positive and highlighting specifically what you have done, what action you've taken. And then lastly, results. So here we've got some time. It's a SMART target, so it's SMART because we've got it being measurable, and some time and some percentage, and then a nice bit of reflection at the end with the key takeaway from the experience. So hopefully you'll be able to use this example to support you with coming up with your own examples that you can prepare for interview. This leads us on to a question that you can prepare. So the question, can you describe a time where you worked as part of a team to achieve a goal? What was your role? This question comes up a lot in interviews, and it's a really great one to prepare. So it's over to you now. Have a think about the situation, and you might want to write down your response. Describe the background, the task, the problem, what you had to do, who you had to work with in order to work as part of a team, and what goal that was. Then in the task, we're explaining our specific role, what you did, and your responsibility. In action, we're highlighting our specific actions that we took, what we did, and then lastly, what was the result? What did you learn? Some reflection is always nice. So have a go yourself. Now that you've practiced that question, here are some further ones to support you. These questions come up a lot at interview. So the first one, can you tell us about yourself? Often in interviews, you'll be asked a question similar to this at the start. So just having a think about who you are, what you've done before, and just a bit of background on yourself. Using an elevator pitch to support you is a really great way to approach this. And if you're unsure what an elevator pitch is, then please have a look at our networking and important steps to success video. Then the question, why do you want to work here? Again, this is another one that can come up quite a lot in interviews. So doing some research into the company, really showing that you understand who they are, what their values are, and why you want to be there. A few other questions that I think are worth to point out on this slide. Why are you leaving your current position? You might get asked this question, so it's good to prepare a response that you think is suitable for the employer. And again, remember to be professional. And then lastly, the final question, do you have any questions? This is again a really good one to prepare. Try not to ask about any benefits that the company can give to you. So I would avoid asking about salary perks or any other perks that you might get. One useful one that I've often used is asking about CPD and training. That can often come across as quite a nice question to say that you are interested in your further development. And then finally, I would recommend having a go at preparing some answers to these, and that will hopefully support you with preparing for interview. We hope the presentation has been supportive with interview top tips as part of the Steps to Success series. If you haven't checked out some of our other videos, such as our CVs and Portfolio 1 or Skills Audits, I'd recommend having a look at those. They can also help support you with preparing for interview. Good luck in your steps to success.